I don't see Victoria on. Are there any officers that have any announcements to make?
Have a few announcements. If Victoria's not going to be here tonight, so I'm speaking for her.
Okay, great.
Okay, I have one main announcement about the Christmas party on December 14th. And at 6:30 at the Rice Bistro in Aspen Grove. And in about a week or so, there will be an email that goes out that explains everything you need to know. And at that, from that email, then you can make a reservation and pay the $39 per person. So that'll
everything but drinks.
Yes, and 39 includes all the food, but any mixed drinks or anything will be a cash bar. And so I think it'll be a great time. And other than that, I don't have anything. And we don't have any guests in the room here. And is there a guest on Zoom? I don't recognize.
We do have Gabe. If you'd like to unmute yourself and just give us a little bit about yourself, how you found us, what you would hope to get out of being in a camera club, etc.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Gabe. I'm gonna turn my camera. Hi. So I found this group just I'm new to Colorado. I'm in the Westminster area. I've been here for about a year, and I've been doing photography since 2018, just about, or no, maybe like 2016. And I just kind of wanted to join a photography group, kind of improve on the craft and learn different techniques, and just try to have some fun with photography in Colorado. So
Awesome. Well, fantastic. And you found us through the website or through some other means or what?
yeah, I just searched on Google and stumbled upon your website and just kind of looked around and seemed like it was a nice group. I also saw some of the example meetings that was provided on your website, so I thought it was pretty interesting.
Awesome. Well, great. Well,
Hey,
glad to have you.
Gabe,
Thank
just
you.
as a heads up, I'm older than 24 now, but when I was, back in the day, when I was first getting into photography, I mean, to me, it's a passion. I've been into it for a real long time, and I basically dedicate everything that I've learned about photography through being a member of camera clubs, and being that person that was entering my first picture and thinking that I'm gonna, oh my God, watch out, I'm gonna put my pictures in and these people are gonna go, gaga. And oh my God, I was brought down. I was cut at the knees, and I saw some of the stuff that people were entering, and it was just phenomenal. And I said, oh my God, one day I'm going to beat those guys. And you just keep at it. So, there's a ton you can learn from a camera club. So I encourage you to kind of partake, get involved as you want. It's totally up to you how much you get involved. But I'm a big proponent of camera clubs. I mean, shoot, I'm now judging. I went from, like, okay, what end of the camera do I look through to, where it's at today. So it's a lot of fun. It's passion. Made a career of it, and nothing wrong with it. So good luck.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
You got it.
Thanks again. Travis, I'm glad to see you back.
Yeah, I know it's been a minute, guys. I apologize, but my life's been crazy lately. So a good crazy, not a bad crazy.
Okay, good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
All
I
right.
will make one announcement, particularly let Gabe know that you probably saw online that we have a competition each month for 11 months, and we also have a program. And next month's program will be on self-critique, which I think ought to be real interesting. We have a real good speaker for that. And I invite you to look in on that. I think you might enjoy it. Also, I would just note, sort of exciting this week, Lightroom and Photoshop put out sort of their big new versions for the year. And there are some real cool AI improvements in Lightroom on masking and healing. So those of you who do those tools, which are lots of us, will probably enjoy playing with those. Okay. If everyone would put themselves on mute except for Russ, the judge, I'll start the competition. It's really my pleasure to introduce tonight's judge, Russ Burden. As he'd mentioned, he's been involved with the club in many ways, including several judges judging several competitions in the past since I've come on board. He really has a impressive biography. Russ Burden is the owner of Russ Burden Nature Photo Safaris. He runs wildlife workshops and safaris to Tanzania 3 times a year. He is internationally published, and his commercial works is marketed through Getty's Images. Russ has been writing the tip of the week for the Outdoor Photographer website for years. He has hundreds of tips archived on their website. Russ is the multiple-time winner of the prestigious Nature's Best Windland Smith Rice Award in many categories. His safari photos have hung in the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., the Aziko Museum in South Africa, the Nairobi National Museum in Kenya, Harare's National Gallery of Zimbabwe, and the Cultural Heritage Center in Arusha, Tanzania. Russ has been published numerous times in Outdoor Photographer, and his wildlife and scenic images have appeared in calendars published by Self-Realization Fellowship, Kodak, Audubon, Sierra Club, National Wildlife, National Geographic Traveler, and more. Russ has an incredible passion for photography, and he loves to share his knowledge and enthusiasm. His drive to seek optimal light and composition keep him motivated. His energy and commitment are contagious, and it's his goal to help others get to this point in their pursuit of this, our wonderful art. With that, I'll turn it over to Russ and ask him for a few comments before we get started with the competition.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Basically, as far as anything to say, I'm kind of scaling down on some of the workshops. It's been great going there 3 times a year. Basically, I've been spending, other than the COVID year, over 2 months in Africa. Total is with 3 different safaris. I was doing April, I was doing June, and I would do middle of August to middle of September. And, I'm kind of scaling back on that now, getting to the point of, I don't know if I'll ever retire, but semi-retirement, and just kind of, wanting to get off and do some photography on my own and travel with some photo buds and just kind of hang out and, chill, lay back a little bit and see how life progresses, so to speak. So, with that in mind, if you want to just get into the judging, I have no intent to try to sell all sorts of, stuff and everything like that. Check me out on the web if you need to, or check my website and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't want to bore you with with all of that nonsense. So, I want to get into seeing the pictures. I love looking at pictures. I love hopefully giving some constructive criticism to those so that the goal is for you to become a better photographer, not for me to say, hey, oh, this picture really needs a lot of work. You know, I'm going to tell you, hey, this is what I would do if this were my image. So let's see how it all works out, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Thanks, Russ. As usual, what we will do is we'll go through a series of the images. We'll hear Russ's comments and scoring of them. And when we get a batch of high scores, that is 9s and 10s, we'll halt for a second and we'll have the photographers talk about those photos, and then we'll continue with the rest. So Bob, are we ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay, our first image is across the Columbia.
Good use of some leading lines to get into where the bridge is. Lighting is good, fairly even all around. The sky, as far as drama in it, there's some nice color. Time of day was chosen well. It's a good overall recording of what I'm seeing with the bridge. The pilings that are coming up, those two primary vertical ones that I'm seeing in the front, the one on the right, and there's a much shorter one on the left, but because of its shape, I'm seeing it as being one of the key ones. And your eye goes all the way through. It's led straight from that upper right, straight on out to where the roadway hits land on the other side, and you can see how it turns to the left there. So very well composed, good light, good optimization after the fact. I'm going to go 9 on this one.
Okay, our next picture is Chapel on the Hillside.
The light is where it needs to be. It's hitting the side of the church, which is nice. The sky is, the sky and the drama that's going on in the mountains is just a little plain. What I do like is that spotlighting effect, though, on the church. So it shows the viewer what it is. That's the important aspect. I would have taken the sky and darkened it up, richened up the blues for those little blues that are there. Used a graduated filter either at capture or post-processing to bring down that bright area of the sky, especially in the upper right. If that was toned down, your eye would go much more to the church. Right now, my eye is going from the bright part on the church up to that upper right area. The grass in the foreground, I like to see that toned down just a hair. And, think about maybe, going out there when the light is better. Probably you were there when this were the conditions at which they were photographed, at which the church was photographed, and you have to contend with that. But that doesn't mean you have to put that picture into competition either. So, you got to think about all of those little factors that come into play. With the criticism that I gave, I'm going to go 8 on this one.
All right. The next picture is Rebar Gossip.
Nice simplicity. I like the quote unquote conversation that's going on the two on the right. It's by calling it gossip, it implies that there is some sort of conversation going on. And I like the way that you strategically titled the picture because it works. What really works for me is the complementary blue against blue of the lower part of the rebar, and then the upper part of gold that's lit, and it's really nice. The one aspect that's really, really taking my eye away is this one that looks like the fish hook in the upper left. I wish that was cropped and cloned out so that you'd come in a little bit tighter on the left and just have the two pieces of rebar verbalizing and communicating with each other. And it would be a simpler photo, and you wouldn't have the distraction. To have the simplicity without the distraction would make it stronger. I love the light, but I can only go, and I love the composition of where you put the blues and the golds, but that fish hook is going to bring it down to an 8.
Thank you. The next image is Aunt Ivy.
I look at this as more, I realize it's an open competition, but is it a photo or is it artwork of what it is that the artist did? To me, it's a recorded piece of artwork. So with that in mind, would it be better to just score this low, or to say that, to me, it's not really a photograph? It's a recording of what it is that you did that would maybe get hung in a gallery, in a museum, something like that. But you know, it's very.
Russ, this is Carl. I understand your point, but we can't assume that the photographer did not do this themselves.
Oh, no. Even
Yeah.
if I'm assuming that the photographer did that,
Okay.
but to me, it's more of a creative piece of artwork than it is a photo. That if the photographer did record what it is that he or she photographed, then it's, to me, still the artwork, the creation, the creativity is in the pasta, the onions, the cucumbers, the mushroom, the peppers, and other aspects of it. So, you know, I'm just having a hard time calling this a photograph, other than it being a recording, which could be a recording of anything. So my question to you guys is, what do I do with that being the case of what it is that's going through my head? I mean, should I still score it? I'll score. I'll give it a 7. But to me, it's a recording of the artwork that was created, which it's the artist that should be acknowledged, not the person that snapped the picture. And like Carl, like you said, if it is the photographer, then you know, who created the artwork, then you know, this would be great for your portfolio to bring out, to show what's going to get hung in the museum, or what's going to get created in food art. For it, see, this is food art, and then maybe I just said it. It's food art as opposed to a photo.
Okay. Well, according to our competition rules, it is judge's discretion on something like this. So.
Okay, I'll score it a 7. Or a 7, or DQ it, one of the two. That it's not appropriate for. I mean,
Well,
you can't get any more appropriate than open, but to
exactly,
me,
a DQ really can't happen in an open competition.
Okay, then a 7.
Thank you.
Very nicely done. I love the side light. I love the subtle light that separates the background from the subject. What I like, even on the shadowed side of the portrait, is there's separation. With the ear, there's the highlight on the top of the ear, all of the subtle things. You can see, if you look in the highlights of the eye, a soft box on the left, and probably some sort of reflector or soft light coming in on the right. What's going to keep me from giving this a 10 is the placement of the hands. I want to see the character of that beard. I feel like I'm being shortchanged in in seeing the full personality of the subject. 9.
Okay, the next image is reclaimed.
The black and white rendition here is a good choice for the subject material, but there's a lot of busyness going on. The one piece of vertical stone that is not obstructed or obscured by the vegetation is, to me, the standalone subject, with maybe one, with the 2 to the left of that. But to add those additional 3, they're getting very much lost in what looks like aspen trees, and they are very obscured. So my eye keeps on getting fixated on this one vertical that is not obscured, but that's 30% of the picture, where there's an additional 70% of the picture, or maybe 35% of the picture, with 65% left over. 7.
Our next picture is An Evening in Italy.
Nice recording of the scene that you're seeing. The exposure is good. The time of day at which you chose to make it is really good. Perhaps 15 minutes earlier to even get a little bit more separation and detail in some of those deeper shadows, especially in the evergreen over on the right. You know, the difference of a couple of minutes could mean a tremendous difference in the outcome of the image. Also, this one bright light on the building on the left is really hot, and the reflection of it, if you look at the reflections of the others, they all hold detail, whereas that one basically washes out and it doesn't hold detail. Could things have be done in post-processing to bring that back? Yes, but I'm not seeing them performed here, so 8.
Thank you. Next picture, One Last Meal.
The subject matter, I like what you did with the insect. That's nice. The wings in the outreached position are good. But to me, I prefer to see the face as opposed to that back section of it. And the perch upon which it sets is definitely past peak, and the background competes for attention. The lighting at the time of day that was chosen is not the best as far as taking advantage of that nice sunrise, sunset light, overcast light, and photographing these kinds of subjects tend to work very, very well. You know, think about the angle at which the animal or, you know, in this case, the insect is positioned, and, you know, you're basically highlighting a section of the animal that's not its most intriguing. And then you've got a lot of extraneous detail over on that left-hand side that's not really necessary. 7 on this one.
Okay. The next picture is Early Morning Light.
This is very nicely done. The shadows and highlights are positioned extremely well. I'm going to give it a top score, but I'm going to nitpick one little detail, guys. And, you know, sometimes it'll come down to this one little detail which determine whether or not you get the grand prize or you get like first place in, say, landscapes. If you follow from where you enter on that lower right and then you follow that leading line and it goes around to the right. And then there's that one shadow over there on that right-hand side where if had you moved the camera, 2 inches to the right, and maybe not even 2 inches to the right, you would have included that entire shadow. I like what you did with the post-processing, with the black rim, with the white rim. That enhances it. The sky is very dramatic. You got the storm sky with the sunlight on the dunes. I like the image. It's a very strong one. It's still a 10. That one little nitpick.
Next image, engineers pre-check.
To me, this is 2 pictures. You've got that central part of the, I'm thinking it might be like almost like a diesel engine or a train or something. I'm not sure. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. That central piece sort of ties it together. But to me, the key figure in this picture is the guy on the left. A, there's light on him. B, that hat is a great counterpoint to all of the blue that he's wearing. C, those sunglasses are just iconically classic on this guy. I would have expected this guy to be wearing those glasses. I would have come in on him and concentrated on him, or just made the strong vertical of him. The other guy who's using the oil can you can't see his face. Obviously, you know what he's doing, something with the oil can. But the guy on the left, that's the guy that's got character. The derby on the guy on the right is fantastic, but the picture's crying out to be made on the left. I'm going to give 4 points to the guy on the right, 4 points to the guy on the left. 4 points to the guy on the left, 4 points to the guy on the right, and you're going to get an 8 for the picture.
Next picture is high mountain flower.
The positioning of the flower up towards the top is good. It's not dead center. You've got room for which the flower can grow. That's nice. The staticness is something that is, I'd love to have seen this where the flower is positioned on a diagonal as opposed to straight up and down. Straight up and down implies not much movement. A diagonal implies a ton of movement. If things are on a diagonal, they're going to slide downhill, or you got to walk them uphill. If things are straight up and down, then the movement is very static. Also, it's a little bit hot on some of those highlights, and I'd like to see those toned down. And the sharpness factor, something like this needs to be tack sharp throughout, and I'm not seeing a lot of tack sharp quality. I mean, it's sharp, but it's not that, oh my gosh, this flower isn't going anywhere and this thing needs to be tack sharp. 7 on this one.
Old folks walk.
The marabou storks, to me, I don't know what was going through evolution when these things were created. They've got to be and I joke about this when I go to the Serengeti all the time. They have to be the absolute ugliest birds in the world. Now, that has no bearing on the picture. That's just me, because I always joke about that. Here, you've got a bunch of different things going on. You've got a lot of mergers. One overlaps the other. The head angles are turned away, and basically every one of the marabou storks except that one in the foreground on the far left, whose head is just a little bit closer than perpendicular to us. Other than that, all of them are looking away. The time of day at which the picture was made is good. I commend you for that. But there's the issues of the mergers where they're overlapping. They're not making a connection with the viewer, and that needs to be done. So, you know, a little bit more patience, walk around to your right, unless you would have been in water, I don't know. But I have to judge the picture based on the way it's presented, not on the conditions in which the photo was made. So with all of those things in mind, I'm going to go 7.
Aliens have belly buttons too.
You know, kind of, you know, clever with the title. I'm just trying to piece together everything that I'm seeing here. Yeah, I definitely see the alien, and I see the belly button, the mouth, the 2 eyes. I'm questioning, oh, maybe that's his spaceship, but would he necessarily fit in there? To me, there's the rhyme or reason behind the picture I'm not really seeing. And the fact that there's a shadow going across what I referred to as the spaceship relative to the technique that was performed to the rest of the image, I'm just not seeing that connection. 7 on this one.
Joined at the hip.
I like this. I like this a lot. Very symmetrical. Very possible that you just took the image and flipped it. But the more I look at it, the more I'm going to go out on a limb and think that you really did that. But it's done creatively. It's done well. The contrasting colors of red and blue, which are on opposite sides of the color wheel, work very, very well here. The highlight, what could be a highlight on a reflection or on a building, I'm not even sure. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. But I like what you did. 9 points on this one.
Tradition.
Tells a story of what it goes on in the, I believe, Jewish religion. And it's nice. You've got the generations of the kid. You know, I don't know if it's a bar mitzvah kind of thing, reading the Torah, whatever it is that's going on. The choice of black and white on this, that works well. You know, this is one of those situations where I don't even mind not seeing the faces, because the story is still there. You know that, well, if you know what it is that goes on, you got to know as far as the wall and all of that goes. So well handled, good positioning of each of the people. I'm glad you didn't cut off the young man's sweater down at the bottom. That's handled well. The shadowing of the hat on the man on the right. I like this. I'm going to go 9 on this one.
Hidden cove.
Overcast day for scenic sometimes can work. You know, I'm thinking like the slot canyons, that kind of stuff. But when you've got an open seascape, it's just not the best light to photograph this particular scene. Everything has that bluish kind of overcast light to it The picture is kind of just cut in half with the rock formations and then the ocean. It's crying out for a light. It's crying out for light that should be screaming for a scenic. 7 on this one too.
Going out in a blaze of glory.
This is one of the situations where overcast definitely helps. If this was midday, contrasty light, it would really, really be harsh. The leading line that brings you from the lower left as the path trails around and almost looks like it goes up a bunch of steps where those roots are cutting across works well. The colors and the sharpness factor, not quite there. Compositionally, I like what it is that you did. Does it offset the technical details is what I'm deciding on.
Excuse me, Russ, this is Carl again.
Go ahead.
Let's remember that we are viewing this through Zoom and there are some occasional issues with sharpness and contrast and things like that. So, I mean, I can tell you that this image is sharp.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'll go 8.
All right. Alley poster.
I like what was done here. I don't know if this is somebody else, you know, where you came in and recorded this, but it's done with a lot of strategy here. The black and white treatment and the processing of the black and white is top notch. I'm going to go 9.
Okay. Droplets of sunshine.
Okay, this one, the depth of field needs to be increased. I have photographed, you know, water drops, so you get the whatever it is upside down, and it's a powerful technique to use, but I want to see something in there that is super sharp, that has a little bit more impact, and the extra material that's over on that left-hand side, even though you'd have to cut into one of those bubbles, I'd rather see that cut out. 7 on this one. I sound like a broken record, but
Cargo airplane.
good rendering in black and white on this. I like the tunneling effect. The use of the wide angle certainly works here. Good post-processing, 8.
My feet are cold.
Nice scene, very dramatic light, good composition, good balance. I like this, 9.
Okay. Dreaming lodge pool forest.
I love when this technique gets used, as far as, you know, the long exposures, and you take your tripod and pan with the verticals of the tree trunks and all. This one, the length of the exposure is just a little bit too long for me, where it just becomes a total abstract of the forest with the trunks. I want to see something in here where it's a little bit truer and I can identify so that I think, more viewers would be able to identify with what it is that's going on here. In doing this, I pretty much know what it is, but I want it to be a little bit more defined as to what the general public would be able to discern. And some of those trunks, especially the one on the left, that bright highlight, I'd like to see brought down a little bit. To me, it's a little, it brings my eye over to that left-hand side. But I like what you've done with the technique. Oh gosh. I'm gonna go benefit of the doubt and give you an 8.
Jack's truck.
Lighting is good for this. The open door, I'm glad it's there. Getting down low is good. Framing the one tree, bush, vegetation, whatever that is, in the window of the open door, strategic. The little sliver of sky that I'm seeing through the windshield, through the back of the car, I wish that wasn't there. To just darken that up or clone the hillside so that you wouldn't see that would be good. The leading lines of the grasses through the use of the wide angle bring your eye into the truck itself, which is nice. And that storm sky works well. So the fact that there's only, one little comment that I gave, I'm going to go 9 on this one.
Bob, let's stop here and review the high scores.
Okay. So
Okay.
you want to continue with this one or stop now?
Okay, we'll do one more.
Okay.
Capitol Reef Strata.
Been to Capitol Reef numerous times. Beautiful, beautiful park. There's some great images to be made there. It's the park that screams out to be photographed in early light and late light while you were up either fairly early or stayed out fairly late. It doesn't have that gorgeous golden glow. It's good with the layering that you've got, vegetation in the foreground, then the fence line, then the rocks, then the cliffside, and then the sky. Sky is over polarized to me. That's just a little bit too blue. Yeah, I know that the skies in Utah are pretty blue, but that doesn't mean you have to turn the polarizer the entire way because it looks cool. It's a little bit past natural, whereas the color of everything else does look natural. 7.
Okay, Bob, let's go back to Across the Columbia. Dan Greenberg.
Yeah, are we on? Cool. Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing called the Astoria Megler Bridge. For whatever reason, and I was taking it, pretty late in the day, obviously, because that bridge faces west towards the Pacific Ocean. And, I just liked it. The one thing I'm curious about is that compared to the one I turned in, and it might just be our screen here, but the color is like really dull compared to the real picture. Maybe not what Russ is saying, but maybe what we're saying. So
I've seen that myself.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's what it is. The Astoria Megler Bridge, and it goes across the Columbia River into Washington.
I'm getting some pretty vivid colors, especially up
Good.
in the sky.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Okay.
The next one is Cliff Lawson, Wisdom.
Yeah, good to see you, Russ. Again, it's
How
been
you
a while.
doing, Nick?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Been a while.
Yeah, I've known this guy for about 25 years and he needed a corporate headshot, which we did. But after we got the vanilla stuff done, I said, let's do some stuff that's a little more interesting. So we did some other stuff. I did see his chin that day, and really, Russ, it's unremarkable.
But why the emphasis on the hands, though? To me, that face, the beard, to me, look at how the hands jump out at you as opposed to the face. I want to see that face. That face.
So you would have liked it with his hands maybe down under the chin, then, right?
Under the chin. Yeah, it's just less. What's the word I'm looking for? Dominance. That's not the word I'm looking for, but less
attention. Yeah, I see.
Thanks. Yeah, less attention put on the hands as opposed to the lighting that you created on the face is exquisite.
Thank you. The
hands don't have the character that his face has. Now, what a possibility is to take in this guy's hands and do just his hands.
Yeah.
As a standalone.
Sure.
But when you compare this guy's face to his hands, to me, it's that face.
I'll drag him back in the studio and we'll do it again.
There you go. Tell him he needs more corporate pictures.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much.
You got it.
The next one is Todd Lytle's Early Morning Light. Is Todd on?
Yes, I'm at the I'm at the group Lone Tree. I took 2 trips to Great Sand Dunes National Park this summer. One day in July is kind of a scouting trip for the 5 days that I was going to go in September. I think the irony for me of this image, as I was looking through things to submit, was that this was literally the very last image on my memory card on the one day that I was there in July. There was nothing else after it until September. But for some reason, I liked it the most.
The leading lines, the ripples, everything works well. But again, just that little nitpick, and perhaps, just maybe a sixth of the left-hand side taken off. You really don't need that.
I mean, I can move it. I suspect that actually the adding the frame is probably what caused that clipping there.
I see.
Because I did that after I'd sized it. So that's the first thing. So yeah, it's an easy fix. Thank you. And that's about 1.5 miles in. I really enjoy getting into the dunes. I've photographed them from the outside of the dunes many, many times. But this is probably 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I hike in 1 mile, sometimes even farther, an hour, 2 hours into the dunes before the sun comes up from the east, which is to your left over the Sangre de Cristo range. And that's just the way I like to shoot them.
With a GPS, I hope.
Yeah, I know my way around there pretty well, but I always go by myself, and I'm not sure that's the smartest idea.
Our next one is Travis Broxton, Joined at the Hip.
Yeah, I was wandering around downtown. Oh my God, I probably took this picture, I bet 10 years ago. I was wandering around downtown and found some steps that went up on the roof of one of the buildings downtown. So I just went up there and just was doing some shooting, and then I, brought it back, and probably just a couple of years ago, I decided to play with it again and flipped it and, play with the colors a little bit. And that's pretty much it. I got rid of the sky. It was a blue sky, but it didn't add anything to the image. So I just made it all black. So, so that's what I did with that.
It's got a lot of impact to get with the red and that blue that you have in here against the black. It really makes it pop.
Yeah, the buildings were, yeah, enhanced the color a little bit on the buildings, but it's more a reflection of the blue sky on the silver building. So
Okay.
that's what brought the blue out. But yeah, that's, you know, I just went through the archives, was looking for some stuff to enter because it's been a minute since I've showed some stuff here. So
Thank you. Next one is Ron Schaller, Tradition.
Taken in Jerusalem at the Western Wall, and it was taken at night. So the lighting was basically the lights that were mounted on the buildings and street lights. And I just thought it worked well in black and white.
It does. And you know, I'm not one that likes pictures of people photographed from behind, but this it works. You don't need to see the faces on this.
Thank you.
Next one is Dave Hull, alley poster. I don't believe he's on tonight, but he left a note. I took this image while walking the alleys in the Rhino District. I converted the image to black and white as there were several areas with vivid colors that pulled the viewer's eyes away from the subject's face.
Yeah. Black and white, definitely. This is a great candidate for black and white.
Next one is Brian Donovan. My feet are cold. Brian, are you on tonight? He left a note. Shot in Disco Bay, Greenland, a couple of weeks ago. The light was amazing and the bay was calm.
That is great light.
Yeah, great sky. The next one is Gwen Patton, Jack's Truck.
Yeah, that was taken in the Pullman, Washington area. And I purposely opened that door on the right side. And I think it makes a big difference in the photo.
Absolutely. It would be just that same old, you know, okay, here's the shot of the old car, but the framing of that tree, which is done perfectly through the window, is very strategic. So I commend you for doing it.
Oh, thank you. And I like the diagonals of the grass on the side, just, you know, going towards the back of the truck. And I didn't notice that horizon line through the rear window, but yeah, I could fix that.
Yeah, I would say, you know, it's a nitpick, but I would do that because just that little bright spot there, you know, it's like I said, it is a nitpick, but it does stand out. What I'm curious what your focal length was to get the perspective. I like the exaggerated wide angle.
Yeah, I have no idea what it was.
Okay.
Oh, look at the metadata.
Yeah.
It's on the side.
You can look at the metadata right now.
Actually, I took it, I believe, with my iPhone.
Well,
Yep, it's it.
Horrors.
make Apple, yeah, iPhone 12.
Our next image is Imminent Annihilation.
Similar to that one with the tunneling effect. What I liked about that picture was that it led the eye to somewhere, where here it leads the eye to just this stark white. Yeah, I mean, you do get a nice silhouette of the motorcyclist, but it is too distracting as far as the brightness goes. And then the one thing that kind of puzzles me here, because it looks to be at about the same distance away, is the sharpness on the right-hand side, but the lower left-hand side, that left area is falling out of the range of focus, as if it was almost done intentionally, but I would wonder why it would have been done intentionally, because this is a picture that would be crying out to have the whole thing, what do you call it, in focus. But the biggie for me is the riding into, you know, I guess you could get poetic, riding into, this may be your last ride. I don't know. There's a lot of stories that you could create as far as the is this the last ride that's ever going to be taken by the motorcyclist into the light, so to speak? But photographically, it's a little bit too distracting, too bright for me. 7 on this one.
East Fork Aspen.
Good use of the wide angle, shooting up, getting the good angle of light, the backlighting on the aspen leaves. The trees are definitely peak. It is very cliched. It's done well. It's been done a lot, and to make it really different, you need to get in there with these super wide angle lenses and really show that perspective that kind of comes in all from the bottom and meets at a strategic location up at the top. 8.
Sunset and Taos.
Nicely done. The light is good. The use of the light is good. The technique that looks like it was applied to some of the adobe is nice. The composition is strong, and the complementary pinkish color, pinkish orange, that is mimicked somewhat on the adobe is good. So you've got the sky to adobe connection going on there with the dark area fully on the left that brings your eye into that central section down there that gives strength to the structure itself, and then transitions with a diagonal as it goes down, and then you get the far diagonal that almost looks like you're thin of something. Go 9 on this one.
Okay. Streetwise.
Nice to get the fox out there, that urban wildlife kind of effect. The stop sign, what's the connection other than the fact that he stopped? Maybe that could be found humorous, but if it's got to be, kind of just really interpreted, is it truly working as a storytelling aspect or not? A little bit heavy on the foreground. You don't need all of that empty road there. It's kind of contrasty as far as the time of day. Let's go 7 on this.
Trash can.
Other than the fact that it's a recording of the trash can with the reflection going on from the floor, it is pretty much a recording. Now, had you gone in and worked just the abstract of the reflection, that to me is where I'm seeing a much greater potential of to create a photo that is going to be more unique. Maybe you wouldn't be able to tell that it was taken on a trash can. That's neither here nor there. But the intrigue is that lower left-hand section, and then the line that on the trash can itself, and then the line that leads up into that little peninsula type area. The way it is here, 7.
Looking for lunch.
Yeah, kind of clever. Tells a story. It's cute. Great shot of the memory of your cat, or if the cat is still around. Great. It's a fun kind of image. 8.
Owen.
Good on the beautiful on the lighting again. Very similar technique to that one that we saw before. The position of the lights looks a little different as I look into the highlight of the eyes and I look at the nose shadow. The nose shadow is a little bit, it doesn't come up, doesn't go down as low. So that position of the main light was a little bit lower in this one. It's nicely done. I'm looking at what it is that's going on in the guy's eyes, and he just, you know, he looks like he's posing, but I don't see the character. Where's the character? Where's the whatever? To me, the watch, it doesn't lend itself to the picture. I'd rather see the watch taken off the hand because I'm wondering why it's there relative to what the picture is trying to convey to me. Nicely done with light though. I commend you for that. 8.
Flow.
Again, I want to see one thing that is sharp on one of the fish that are there. And what I'm seeing is a total abstract with some bright areas up top that look like you've tried to tone them down, perhaps cropping that section out. Yeah, you know what? I'm blocking it now with my eyes. I would have cropped off the top 7th of the photo, the top left rock and that reflection, the strong brightness of that reflection. And that would have brought your eyes down more to the fish. But I want to see, like, maybe if one of the fish had its head out and the eye was sharp, you know, something other than this total abstract where it just isn't strong enough for me. 7 on this.
Not ready for change.
If you're going to do selective focus, I want to see a greater reason for it. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here. The leaf is not the most intriguing leaf that I would have chosen to include in the picture. And the background is good on the right-hand side. The rest of the right-hand side with the leaf trailing out of focus to coming into focus doesn't really, it's not super appealing to what it is that I'm seeing. And then that top left-hand section probably looks like water flowing past that stone itself. Really needs to be toned down. I do like the shadow of the stem of the leaf going across the rock. That is, I mean, if you follow that complete shadow, that's got the nice, sexy kind of curvature line to it. You know, perhaps, you know, working with smaller details and looking at everything is, you know, exhaust all possibilities, as I say all the time. Use all your options. 7 the way it is.
To infinity and beyond.
Good sky. The fact that the afterburners are kicked in is good. The central placement, I wish it wasn't quite as centered. I do like the sky behind it, especially the orangey glow down on that right-hand side. You definitely don't need all that material on the left because the jet is flying from the left to the right, and there should be the room on the right-hand side. You don't need the room on the left. It's a dramatic photo. It's a very patriotic photo, but photographically, just that centered aspect. I'll go 8.
Morning light.
It's crying out for a graduated filter here, guys. Look at the difference in the exposure on the reflection as opposed to the sky. The building itself is void of detail in that yellow area, especially where it's brightly reflecting the sun. If you look at where that sun is in the reflection, it's holding detail and the color is much nicer. Go invest in a graduated filter or see what can be done post-processing, but the technical aspects of the photo are what's taking away most of the points from this capture. 7.
The Sentinel.
Good leading line, brings you up to the gull on that, on the top of the light, a little on the bright side. It's a cleverly done picture. It's a well-seen picture. I love to see this done in a time of day where the light is more conducive to this. 8.
Okay. Under the Halloween moon, it slithered out of the dark woods.
I definitely get the feel of that Halloween kind of effect with the root section, the upturned tree against the darker forest, but the technique that's incorporated to bring that moon in is it's just not, it's not real enough. And why would the moon be in front of the trees? That could be the end of the world if that was to really happen. It's the technique with the moon that's really going to hold this back from getting a good score. 7.
Can you spare a dime?
The capture itself doesn't tell the story of the title of the picture. The lady looks as if she might be looking at the homeless person, but it's not definitive. There's no connection between the two. The slow shutter speed, the lack of depth of field or slow shutter speed that was used. You've got movement in the feet and all on the 2 pedestrians, the bright area on the background. I'm just not seeing the interaction that I would love to see here, especially given the title of this picture. 7.
Seeking the sun.
Nicely lit, good seeing. I like the shadows and highlights in here. The fact that you got that shaft of light coming straight through on that center part from which all of the leaves are growing out works really, really well. Good seeing. 8.
In the shadow of Dallas Peak.
The light that's going on in the background is just even a little too bright, especially on that peak on that right-hand side. You got to be really, really careful as far as digital photography goes with the red channel. I, at sunrise and sunset, bias my exposures based on the red channel. The situation that's going on here is that those yellows on the face of that mountain have lost the detail, and they just become this glow of color, as opposed to where you're seeing any kind of rock detail on the side of that peak. And the problem is the extreme exposure that's going on here. I mean, you've got deep, deep, deep shadows, and then you've got two areas that are brightly lit. And to try to hold detail on both is an impossibility. Here's where you need to learn how to incorporate HDR, high dynamic range, and make a bunch of different exposures and combine them in post-processing. 7.
Window treasures.
Well, well done. The fact that you've got the extra material on that right-hand side, that burgundy, deep burgundy kind of color, and then the bottom there of the sill is nicely done. And then, shot through the screen really, really helps here. 8 points.
Aries.
Good dog portrait. The dog is looking to its left. I would love to have seen a little bit more room on the left side of it's looking to its right, but to our left. And I would like to see a little bit more room on our left-hand side and a little bit less on the right-hand side because of the angle of the head. And the depth of field, the nose looks a little softer than the eyes. So even if I'm looking at something that's digitally projected, the eyes are sharper than the nose, which tells me it's a depth of field issue, especially exacerbated by the fact that the name tag is falling out of the plane of focus. And it looks like window light because I'm looking in the highlight of the eye. And if that's the only light that you were using, that's not going to provide enough light to give you the depth of field that you would need, because this dog looks like it's got the deep snout. Oh. But I do like the composition. That's well handled. The fact that you've got it against the black background is good. If you digitally did it after the fact, which there is a possibility, because when I look at his or her right eye, I can see that there might be a little bit of overlap on the photoshopping. I'll go 8 because it's a good image.
Cruising between the icebergs.
You've got a good sky again, like that other one of the Arctic or the ice flows, but the overall light isn't quite as impactful as the previous one, nor is the composition. And I would like to see you have gotten up a little bit higher in wherever it is you were to make the pictures, so that the person standing in the zodiac there is not merging with the ice flow in the background. I like the fact that you've got the boat shot when it's in that reflected part of the water so that it stands out more. but it's, with those couple of nitpicks in mind, or not even nitpicks, they're a little bit more than a nitpick. With those factors in mind, I'm going to go 8 on this.
Graphic thistle.
I like the graphic quality to it, but if the thistle is leaning to its left, why not include more information, more canvas on that left-hand side as opposed to that right-hand side? I'd like to give this picture a higher score, but that's a pretty major flaw. So I'm going to go 7.
Pair of varieties.
Good still life, good color coordination of the fruits that were chosen, good arrangement of the fruits, the platform on which they're based is chosen well. 8.
Okay, that's the end of the photos. We'll go back. I think we just have one high score, which was Dan Greenberg, Sunset in Taos.
Yeah, that was taken on a Todd and Dan photo trip back in 2020 when we were exploring to see what you can do during COVID. That's where we also stayed. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, and so basically it was kind of getting late in the afternoon and stuff. I did do sky replacement on it using a sky from my house. It did have a sunset type of sky, but it was kind of like blown out in certain places. So I thought this one would look better. And then I did do some actual dodging and or actual burning on this one on the left-hand side.
On the left, you can see that, yeah.
Yeah, to darken it up because otherwise would have been, it was too bright. Russ, I'm curious, what do you think would have made this a 10?
I'm trying to think what else. It's, it's a cliched subject. You would need just some amazingly dramatic light. The fact that you've got the reflected light from the sky bouncing onto the proper side of the adobe structure on the left, where that highlight is, shows me that, yeah, you've got the light positioned from the proper direction, but the light doesn't scream. It's good light. The sky replacement works, but it's not, super shadows, super highlights, super drama going on with color, with rays, with whatever. And given the fact that these things have been shot so much, that's the point at which you need to be with these. It's a good picture. To me, it's not one of those ones that makes me say, wow, that's amazing.
Okay, thanks.
You got it.
Okay. So that's the end of the competition for this evening. I want to thank you, Russ, for judging for us and giving all of your thoughtful comments. And I want to thank all the attendees who submitted pictures that made an interesting evening for us. With that, I'm going to end the call unless there are any other last comments. All right, well, then that's it. Thank you so much. And remember, there will be a great program this next month. All right, and next month, our subject is architecture. So get out there and shoot some architecture.